Hi everyone and welcome back to Astrology Roast. My name is Karen.
My name is Itai.
And as always, we are super delighted to be back with you again. Now, I'm sure you can hear it in our voices, but we are in holiday mode / all the way in Western Australia in the middle of a town that probably no one really knows or has been to called Kalbarri.
Yeah, you can hear that we're not on the couch. Our voices are completely different, somewhat more relaxed and open and, full-rounded people that we are.
Yes.
And it's just so different. Everyone here is so tall.
So tall. So Western Australia is like an enormous chunk of land super far away from Melbourne and from all the major cities in Australia. And we are now 6 hours out of Perth, which is the capital city of Western Australia. And
someone told me that Perth is the most secluded, like it's the biggest city that is the most further away from another city or something.
It's so far away, but they're really living their best lives in Perth.
Yeah,
so
well, they're huge. Everyone here is a giant. It's like
everyone's so tall. Like,
when like plants, if you put a plant in a dark room, then it will grow towards like the sun, like where the sun comes, like nature adapts to the space. So I feel like because Western Australia is so big, the people here are just bigger to like feel the space.
Or to reach the sun. Like they're all reaching. I feel like, just so short. Everyone is enormous and the serving sizes here are enormous. The smiles are enormous. People, like as soon as we stepped off the plane, which is a 4-hour flight, which was also, I might add, a Qantas flight. This has been my dream for the last 15 years to go on Qantas Airlines, which is Australia's premier deliverer of airline services. And
it's like Uber Premium.
It's Uber Premium, yes. It is. It's like...
It was a great experience.
It was amazing. I probably will never get to do it again.
So the people here are super nice. We did have 2 incidents of people that didn't fit the Perth and Western Australia spirit. But it is Mercury Retrograde. So one of them was a woman that in the bookstore, Karen, you reached out to grab a book, which is completely normal and within the normality of actions you
within my human rights.
Yeah, within your human rights to reach and grab a book. But somehow, for a reason, the woman that was standing next to you, just her response to you grabbing the book was, "Oh shit, I didn't see you there." She freaked the hell out. She really...
Because you almost gave me a heart attack.
You startled her.
And then I told her, "I'm sorry, I'm always in the wrong place at the wrong time."
I know, and I was defending you. I was like, no, you're not. You're doing something completely normal. You're grabbing a book.
Well, as you said, it's been, we're kind of peaking with the Mercury retrograde. It's finishing around the 28th of March. So it's, just before it finishes, Mercury retrograde seems to peak in its confusion and headfuckery.
Yeah.
And as a very mercurial Gemini with 1 million planets in Gemini, as we all know, I'm very impacted by that. So I think she was just picking up on my retrograde vibes. But yeah, she was a bit over the top. But beyond her and an interesting woman in an interesting sex shop.
She was lovely.
She was actually lovely, very helpful.
And she didn't get me to buy something from her shop, she wasn't convincing me to buy it, but she was so nice. I was like, I have to buy something from here.
Every product she points to, she goes, "Oh, my gays love it. The gays love that product."
Oh, the gays buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
I really buy things based on either if I've seen a celebrity posting about it on Instagram or if the salesperson is really nice. So that's why there's this sherry liquor in our closet that I bought 2 years ago and no one ever drank it because the guy was telling me how he made it his own, like he grows the cherries and whatever.
You're a sucker.
But I did buy from that beautiful, amazing lady in the sex shop a cake tin in the shape of a penis. Yes. So the cakes are coming.
Anyway, we are not being sponsored by the Western Australian Tourist Board.
No, we've
just come here for other reasons, but it is a wonderful part of Australia if anyone ever gets the chance to fly Qantas to come here. And it's been a pretty amazing journey. But a lot of other things have been going on at the same time as this journey. And I think for anyone out there listening, you might have felt some very deep psychic, astrological energies. You're not alone. I have certainly been feeling it, Itai. You have been super feeling it. It is, at the moment, we've just entered into Aries season, which also coincides with the new year within the zodiac cycle. So Happy New Year, everyone. Happy Aries season to all the gorgeous Aries out there with your strong, determined, ambitious sexual natures that helps the world roll around in the way that it is.
What a good description. Yes. So the astrological year has finished. We're still in Mercury Retrograde, and that's why some people find it a bit hard to transition from Pisces to Aries season, but it's very soon going to be over. And as someone who felt the Pisces season really, really, as you said, hard, I saw the depth of my soul, and I was in deep shit, as I like to describe the past month. Just, every night, dreams and sadness, and having conversation with my grandma, with my dead grandma, and just like overall not living my best life. But the day that Aries season started, I was like, grandma, like, this is it. We're done here. I'll see you next year. And I just woke up with a spring in my step, and you might even call it a spring in my butt, because the night before, on the last night of Pisces season, I got a B12 shot in my butt, which I'm severely deficient B12 because I'm a very, very lazy vegan. So my diet usually is bread, hummus, and avocado. I think avocado is good for you, but yeah.
I don't think any of those things has B12 in it.
No, definitely not.
And look, in your defense, or in my defense, in someone's defense, you have been complaining over the last 3 weeks to maybe a year and a half of like, I'm sick, I'm unwell, my body hurts, my arm hurts, I need to go to the doctor, I need to go to the emergency department. And like, of course, I've tried to take that seriously, and I think others around you have as well. But there's always been a little bit of a devil on my shoulder saying,
is he really?
Is this real?
No, there's all these vegans going around saying, oh, ever since I became vegan, I'm so energized, I'm stronger, I'm leaner, and I'm like, no, I'm actually falling apart.
Yeah.
Like, I can't bring myself.
Walking skeleton.
Yeah. So I got a B12 shot in my ass, and there's a spring in my butt, and I'm just living my best life.
And another Aries gave you that B12 shot.
Yeah, my Egyptian friend that told me I can only give you the B12 shot in your ass, even though nowadays people do it in the arm, because I was trained in Egypt, and in Egypt it's still given in the butt. So I'm like, you know what? Do it. Like,
I love it. At one stage you mentioned that you were planning to have the injection in the toilets at Nova Cinemas.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to a movie, and I, as being an impatient, impulsive Aries, I told him I need to get it as soon as possible. So I messaged him the morning, and I said, bring it from work, because he's a chemist, bring it from work to the movie that we're going to watch tonight. And he said, sure. He was like, are you sure? Like, we can just go home after, I'll do it then. I was like, no, I want to get it like before the movie. So while I'm in the movie, it will start spreading into my body. But he forgot it at home. So of course I was really mad. But then we drove after the movie, and he gave it to me. It was everything, all is well. And I woke up the next morning feeling like a new person in a new year, in a new cycle of life, Aries season. The sun is in my sign.
Yes. And the injection was in your butt.
Yeah.
And look, as an observer, you look well, you're looking great, you've had a haircut, and you look human again. So I'm really happy that you've found something that works for you.
Thank you.
But I think it might be a little bit incorrect to say that this little spring in your step is only due to the B12 shot.
I would say
I think there's a couple of other things that have been hovering around that might have added to this little smile that's from your left ear to your right ear. Any new additions, any new, long-haired French reasons that you might be feeling a little bit more
well, you might be referring to
boppity?
You might be referring to my new boyfriend.
Oh, I didn't want to say, I didn't know if it was official.
Well, listen.
I didn't want to out you.
Considering the fact that now we are on, this is a Sunday, we're recording the podcast on a Sunday, and I met this guy this Monday, less than 7 days ago. I don't know if it's official. Definitely we haven't discussed that we are boyfriends yet, but did I, go around and tell everyone that he is my boyfriend? Probably, yeah, I have. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I have sent pictures of him to everyone I know saying, look, this is my new boyfriend. And I do refer to him often as my boyfriend in the past 6 days. What can I say? Yeah. I fell in love in a hopeless place.
Yeah. You did. You've really fallen in love, and I haven't known an Thai in love yet. So this has been a really new experience to witness, and really exciting and really cool. I mean, like I did, go for a little bike ride the other night to my spiritual home, the St Kilda Sea Baths, to mark the ending of Pisces season and the super full moon in Libra. Shout out to all the Libras there who might be feeling extra sensual and fertile at the moment. That's because of that super moon. But anyway, I was just riding along to the sea baths and then rode back quite late at night. And then lo and behold, where I usually park my little bike underneath the stairs in our apartment, there is this bike there. Like I'm literally being edged out by this beautiful Frenchman's beautiful bike. And like you've told me he's a Gemini and I'm also a Gemini. So it's been, but like he's cool. So I'm down with it.
I'm sorry for edging you out of my life.
No, it's okay.
It's been a long while since the last time I felt anything towards anyone. And I know I met
other than the feelings of self-hatred towards self.
Yes, exactly. But I know I met him 5 days ago. But I am an Aries. I am very impulsive, very passionate. And honestly, if this trip wasn't booked already a month ago, I would probably not come here. I'll just spend all my time with him. And I know it's sad. Like, you're my roommate. You've been my rock and my everything in the past 3 years. But the second I meet a guy, like your bike, find a new parking spot,
Yeah, but that's okay. I think that's the rock knows how to do that. And look, he's very attractive.
He's very attractive.
For your Instagram, for your life, he's going to really be an amazing addition.
I'm going to monetize the hell out of this relationship. Unlike my previous relationships where I kind of didn't hit the metal while it was hot. I don't know the right term, but now I'm going to, get those selfies, those hot gay selfies out there. I'm going to just monetize on it. But it's true, I never dated a Gemini before, and I find myself it's almost I am the Gemini in the relationship, and it's really scary because I had an incident with him that I don't think any other sign would still continue to see me after this incident, but a Gemini. So thank God he's a Gemini, because after the first night that we met,
a week ago
on Monday, 6 days ago. So we went for a drink, then we went back to his house. And while he was opening his MacBook so we can watch some Netflix, I saw his name and last name. So I was taking a mental picture. I'm going to use that name and last name tomorrow at work. And I'm going to stalk the hell out of him. Okay, the night went by, watched some Netflix, went to bed, woke up, drove to work. Got to work at 8:15. At 8:16, I was already on my laptop looking him up. So the usual Google, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, just Tumblr, whatever's there. But couldn't find him. So I did what every regular, normal, progressive person would do. And I started working on my combinations for the search. So he's French, so to not expose his actual identity, let's call him Jean-Pierre. So I wrote on Facebook search, Jean-Pierre. Couldn't find him. Jean-Pierre, Melbourne. Now let's say he's a chemist, because I don't want to say his actual job. Because, I'm not talking about everything about my life on this podcast.
Yeah, he's your boyfriend.
He's
he
my
didn't
babe.
Sign up for this celebrity life of your podcasting fame.
So he's a chemist for the story. So I look up Jean-Pierre chemist, Jean-Pierre Melbourne chemist, Jean-Pierre Melbourne chemist, pharmacist, gay, long hair, Jean-Pierre, like everything. Can't find him. I'm like, okay, Gemini. Am I surprised he's off the grid? No, not at all. So I finish work. I go back to his place. We're in bed. We're talking. He has long hair, so I told him, oh, I used to have long hair. And he said, show me a picture. So I go on Facebook and I show him my profile picture, like from a few years ago, show him my long hair. We talk about it. Then I say, show me a picture of you with short hair. And he goes, sure, no problem. Give me your phone. So I give him my phone and he's on the Facebook app and he's about to look up his name. And as he clicks the search bar, the 20 combinations of his name with his profession, with his city, everything is just there. My last 30, 20 versions of his name.
Rookie era.
Such a rookie era. And I was just like there, visible, naked, physically and emotionally. And I could just see myself through his eyes. And I was just horrified of the person that I am. What kind of person would not delete their search history? Like,
exactly. Like, of course the stalking is going to happen, but like you need to be on that. Like you need to delete that before you meet with him.
I'm completely comfortable with looking him up. The only things I'm ashamed of is not deleting my history and also not finding him.
But like I think now because, you know, your boyfriend's like that level of comfort and familiarity, like it's okay for you to be emotionally naked with him.
It's
you know?
true.
Like you guys can have ice cream in bed together. Like
I know.
You can let it all go.
I know. We don't really know anything about each other yet, but I feel like he's the only one that gets me.
I think me and you were talking about this recently about how, you know, let's say you are with someone and they, you know, someone new and they leave the house and you might be in their bedroom or their room alone. Like, what do you look for? And I was talking about how, yeah, I've search histories on people's laptops or computers before, like when they've opened the laptop.
But, yeah, it's their fault.
Yeah, and so I'm like, oh, search history, obviously. Like, what type of porn do they watch? Like, what's their secrets? And you're like, oh, I just look through all of the cupboards or everything they belong, you know.
Yeah, well, in case you're listening right now, Jean-Pierre, I hope that you still want to see me again. Obviously, this last, 15 minutes of this podcast have probably scared you or anyone that's listening right now off of ever being in a relationship with me. But, you got to take the bad with the good. Like, if you can't see me at my worst, you're never going to get me at my best.
I think he really saw you at your best.
Like, I know.
I think you showed the best of yourself. Do you, now, Itai, like, I don't know if it's a coincidence that you've met him right as you've, had your B12 shot in the butt and then Aries season has just commenced. Like, do you feel like you've known him in a past life, or do you feel like you were ready to meet your French boyfriend now as opposed to during other times?
I think it's an amazing question because I did think about it, that it's not coincidence that for 5 years I haven't dated anyone past 2 dates. And I know that some people would be listening right now and say, oh my God, it's been 6 days with this guy. Like, clearly it's not anything different, but it does feel different. Whether I'll see this guy again or not, I think me being open emotionally to something and actually experiencing butterflies in my stomach, whether it is, will end up in anything serious or not, it is something that I haven't felt. I haven't allowed myself to feel in 5 years. And I think in the past 5 years, I was in some kind of retrograde or ending to a version of myself that I didn't want to have anymore. The version of myself that, fell in love. The version of myself that allowed myself to open up to love. So my previous relationship was very kind of like jumping into it, eyes closed, trusting in the universe and being hit by a bus in response to that. No, I'm joking. It was an incredible feeling of being in love, like what they sing about in the songs and show you in the movies. And we all know how much I'm a sucker for like a movie experience. But then I was shut down, and for 5 years I was, being myself, being single, and having my autonomy. And I know just 2 episodes ago I celebrated that, and I still celebrate that. It's still a huge part of my identity that I am not looking forward to give up on. But I think at the end of Pisces season and the things I experienced in Pisces season and in the past 5 years, it was almost as if shedding a layer of skin. Not like that incident where I tanned myself with canola oil and shed my entire layer of skin, but like I am willing to let go of like these old habits and kind of, I might be hit by a bus again. And maybe maybe when we get back to Melbourne, Jean-Pierre will say, listen, I kind of listen to your podcast and you're fucking insane. So don't ever contact me again.
Would you just be like, oh, thanks, another listen.
I was
another listen.
Like, share and subscribe.
Yeah, love you, bye. No, I think it's really beautiful what you're talking about, because I know that the reasons, we haven't even mentioned why we have come to Western Australia for 3-day, shotgun trip. Like, you had wanted to see this famous pink lake that is in the middle of pretty much nowhere in Western Australia, and you wanted to see that before you returned to Israel. And yeah, I just came along, but but I think it's really beautiful that you wanted to see that pink lake for some reasons to do with this cycle, and just as you're feeling maybe that heart-opening experience, you find yourself here. What the fuck?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that for me, having you here is a crucial part of my experience, because I think you play the crazy role, a substantial role in my life. And, a lot of my learning is coming from talking to you on the couch for hours on hours on hours about the same topics and about the same things. But I wanted to come to the Pink Lake not only because of the selfie opportunities, but also because when I was in that previous relationship with my Aquarius ex-boyfriend, we had that image. So we were really romantic. Like, he would write me letters and send them to me overseas with his handwriting, like legit, and like drew portraits of me and sent them to me, and like all these things. And in one of his letters, he described this surreal place that existed with all the things that we liked. So, for example, it was a cream soda lake with flying Pop-Tarts, and their wings were made out of Score bars, which is like a candy bar, I think, from Canada. And it had all these elements in it and the clouds were like cotton candy, basically a Katy Perry video. But it felt more real and romantic when he wrote that with his handwriting, with his beautiful Aquarius handwriting. And then
they like to leave their mark.
Oh, they sure do. And in response to his letter, with my crazy Photoshop skills, I took all these pictures and I stitched them into a picture that was exactly what he described in his letter. And it's on my private Instagram if you want to see it. I posted it in April, I think 2016, because that was like the anniversary of our breakup.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it was like the 28th of April or something. So scroll back, you'll find it. And if you actually scroll back and find it, like it so I'll know you saw it. And I made the picture and I sent it to him, and it became like our thing, this like cream soda lake. And when I came to Australia and I found out that there is a lake here that is pink, I was like, oh my God, I have to see it. It's my cream soda lake. But we obviously were not together. We were not really in contact. So I thought to myself, why do you need to go there? And is it for him? Is it for you? And I feel like now, when all these planets that I would love you to explain in a second what's happening in the sky right now, because it all fits.
Oh, I will.
So I feel like it just came about that at the end of this Pisces season, and I felt like in the past 5 years I've been in a long Pisces season. In this end of Pisces season, the beginning of the new year, feeling a little bit of butterflies towards someone new. And now that Pink Lake for me represents kind of like childish excitement or childish faith in love or faith in magic or faith in, fairies or whatever it is, that as a kid you're not afraid to say, yeah, I believe in fairies, yeah, I believe in magic, but then you grow up and you're like, nah, pink lakes don't really exist, fairies don't really exist, all these things. So I'm gonna see this pink lake tomorrow morning, and I think for me it's more about acknowledging that it's okay to believe in those things. You might get hurt. I don't know if this lake would be actually pink, maybe not, but it is that faith in the world as a child, and not thinking that you have to have those safety nets when you fall, or those reassurances or insurances,
Yeah, and as you said, the lake very well might not actually be pink. It depends on the weather and the time. And also, there are a number of pink lakes in Victoria. You didn't want to go within Victoria where you live.
No.
There's also now apparently a pink lake in Melbourne City, which has popped up. So these lakes become pink because of the algae or, certain chemical processes that make the lake appear bright, vivid pink. So it's an amazing Instagram opportunity.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you needed to come to Western Australia to do it. And I feel, very privileged to be here. I know that you are missing your boyfriend, and I know he misses you too.
It's hard.
Maybe it's healthy, maybe it's not, but I think, now is a very, very strong, energetic time in the zodiac astrological cycle to be going through what you're going through. I mean, I went through a really rocky Pisces time too in the last few weeks. And certainly feeling the shift into Aries energy, which I'm a big fan of Aries. A lot of my best friends are Aries, and I love their passion and zest for life and their give zero fucks attitude. But yeah, I guess broadly what's happening, I mean, I mentioned that, of course, we had a super full moon in Libra right at the beginning of 0 degrees in its sign. This hefty, huge moon that you could see from everywhere.
Love it.
Loved it sick. And I think that was when I was at the sea baths and you were with your new lover. Jean-Pierre. We also had the equinox. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, it was the spring equinox. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, it was the autumn equinox. So that's kind of when it's the equal amount of time between day and night. And it's a time where a lot of cultures and societies and witches do rituals to celebrate a change and a shift in the season. And that's completely beautifully coincided with the beginning of the zodiac new year in Aries, of course, which is always the kickoff of the new year, and Mercury Retrograde kind of crossing over this time. So it's kind of saying, well, all of this psychic learning and pain and spiritual realization that you've realized over the last year or lifetimes that's happened in the last couple of weeks, that's actually, maybe that's going to inform how you travel into this new year. There's more that you're going to be learning from that pain, so don't shut it out. It's going to be part of this exciting new time. But another beautiful planetary change that has been happening has been that Chiron, my number one asteroid that chills out in between Uranus and Saturn in the sky, Chiron has met with the sun in the sign of Aries. And so Chiron has moved out of Pisces into Aries, and it's been in Pisces since 2010. It moved in Aries and in 2018, and then back into Pisces, and then back into Aries. But now it's kind of in Aries for the next, it's till 2027.
Whoa.
So
wait, who's Chiron?
Who is this Chiron? So the way I connect with Chiron, I mean, it's spelt with a CH, but my name is Karen, as I introduce at the beginning of every one of these podcasts, and I feel a strong affinity to Chiron and its message. So mythology posits that Chiron was a centaur, so kind of half human, half monster vibe. Sounds hot.
Horse, no?
Sounds hot. Yeah, horse. I don't know.
Like the Sagittarius.
Yeah, like the Sag, kind of. He was a centaur, and he's known broadly as the wounded healer. I might have talked a little bit about Chiron, the asteroid, before, but generally he's the wounded healer. So he could heal everyone but himself. So he couldn't heal his wounds, but he did a pretty good job of healing others around him. And the asteroid Chiron, which was discovered quite late in the game, so it's a kind of a newish discovery in the sky, has come to represent, similarly, the wounded healer. So basically, what are the wounds that we have from this lifetime, from previous lifetimes, from our mum, from our dad, from this bitchy person that was rude to you in a bookshop in Perth. It doesn't matter where it was. But whatever wounds you're carrying, Chiron represents how you are going to use those wounds and learnings to heal others, to transform others with that wisdom from that pain. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Chiron has just been next to the sun in Aries for the first time in quite a long time, just as we are entering the zodiac new year. And I mean, go out there and have a look if you can get a natal chart reading of where Chiron sits in your chart. So obviously, no surprises, my Chiron is in fucking Gemini, which is all of my planets. So how that might look for anyone with a Chiron in Gemini, your wounds might have been around expression and how you communicate and how you express yourself in the world. You might have felt limited, or you couldn't talk, or you couldn't speak, or you had to speak in a certain way. And you might then use your voice or use your communication to heal others in the world. So that's how I understand my Chiron.
That's so beautiful, because I think often we experience our wounds in a very something I shouldn't talk about or something that is private to me. But what Chiron is saying, your wound is actually, you can relate to others with your wound, and you, by relating to them, you can help them by, maybe you can't fix yourself, but you can fix them, and maybe that would help you. I think that for me, I can relate to that in like growing up gay, obviously, and having both my parents' response very negatively. And I remember growing up thinking, okay, I have to, because I studied education, and when we were studying, we had to go and do some work with people. So like as part of our training, you have to go and you have to do something, like you have to work like 3 hours with a certain community, and then you come to the circle and you share about it, and your professor is like, and I had this professor, and I think she was a Libra. She was really smart. Like, I loved her. I learned a lot from her, but it was really funny because we would sit there in a circle and everyone would work, because it was informal education. Everyone would work with like really, really different backgrounds. So I worked with, on 1 week with immigrants to Israel and 1 week with the LGBT community. And then other people would work with youth at risk and people with like criminal history and kids that their parents like kicked them out of their house. And she was like this really rich, kind of like living her best life. Like she was 50 and she kind of like, she taught us as like a sweet gig.
Yeah. A little side project.
She like achieved everything she wanted, and that was her like community service that she got paid for, teaching at like a university for education. And she would just sit there and literally zone out. And people would be like, I'm really confronted. Like this kid just came out and they told me that their parents did this, and she was like just were gazing away. And every week she'll be like, class cancelled because she's on a ski trip to Europe.
That is a real Libran quality.
Great hair. She had great hair.
Oh, they all do.
I honestly learned a lot from her. She was very smart. It was very funny sometimes talking and knowing she's not listening to you, but which is very Libra, I feel. But I remember going and feeling like when I first came to the space and I worked with 15-year-old LGBT people from every background. It was in Jerusalem, so you would have Jews and Palestinians and Muslims and Christians and every gender and every age from like the teenage range, and everyone would just come into this space. Outside of the door, they would be either in hiding or wherever they come from, and then they would enter this space. And I remember feeling, this imposter syndrome. And like, what do I know? I was 24. I didn't even finish my degree. But I remember I was like, okay, the only thing I can totally do is just share my story and connect on that level. And I think I never had that acceptance moment that, when you come out, because you can't come out twice to your parents. Like, it's the first time and that's all you got.
Well, did you have an experience or someone else where you came out and they pretended they didn't hear you for 10 years?
Oh,
so I think you did get a couple of redos.
I got a few redos, but you can't. The first.
Wait, excuse me, what?
That was. I remember when I was driving my auntie back to the train. She came to our house, and that was like way after I came out for real. I had a boyfriend. Like, everyone knew him. So I told you about how one auntie of mine always referred to my boyfriends as my really good friends. And this auntie never even acknowledged that I was gay. And I thought she knows, but she's like, don't ask, don't tell kind of policy, which I'm fine with. I was driving into the train, and she was blessing me to find a woman and get married. And I was like, really shocked. I was like, dude, I'm not going to, if I ever get married, it will be to a man. Like, and I just said it to her, like, thanks, but first of all, I don't think I want to get married, and secondly, it will be to a man. So if you're still happy with that, keep blessing me. But if not, then like, don't tell me that ever again. I was like, I totally like snapped. And she was like, oh, I didn't know. And like, went on the train. And 2 minutes later, when I was back at my parents' house, my mom was like, what did you tell your auntie? She already managed to like update her. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, everyone knows I'm gay. And yeah, that was nice. That was actually one of my better coming out stories.
You got your moment. You really got your moment. And I think, now that we are moving with Chiron shifting into Aries for the next quite a few years, this approach that we have to our wounds or to what needs to be healed is going to be pretty much like hitting the nail on the head. So charging forth with your life, still living a full and meaningful life, irrespective of what's happened to you, and using that as wisdom. If I have permission to nerd out a little bit on this podcast,
always.
I'll just take it slightly more esoteric. Why not?
Go for it.
I'm in Western Australia, so I feel like I can be a bit larger than life. But so Chiron being similar to my name, Karen, and so if you do forget what Chiron means, just think about me as the wounded healer. Have an image of me, feeling sad and like, talking to people on a soapbox, and no one's listening on the soapbox, but I'm still talking at them. But Chiron, similar to the word, there's Buddhist terminology called karuna, and that refers actually to wisdom, a kind of all-knowing, deep wisdom, and it goes hand in hand with the Buddhist term metta, which is kind of loving, compassion, and kindness. And, I always understood the wisdom aspect to be a bit more serious, and the metta aspect is more light and smiling and happy, and that loving quality that you take to everyone that you meet. But however, both of those actually exist together, and you can't have one without the other. And I know that me and you have been talking a lot in this we talk a lot anyway, but in the last couple of days, we talked a lot about your boyfriend, but also about kind of the importance of endings and beginnings, of closure, so that you can have newness and renewal and restoration. And I think, when I've been hearing what you've talked about, your boyfriend and your ex-boyfriend, and the wisdom that you've learned from that pain and how you're going to charge forward, it definitely makes me think of probably your one true love, Britney Spears, and how she's always had a very romantic, Pink Lake unicorns-esque attitude towards love and loving, being in love.
She has a Libra moon.
She does, and she just has that not naive, but that innocence around that all-encompassing falling deep into love. And she's, been publicly hurt and really touched the depths of her soul, just like you did during Pisces season. And I think she's a real example of how you still can maintain that quality of love.
I know,
and of hope for love.
It is true, and it is something that I never actually, now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, Britney, alongside everything that she is an inspiration for, it's also that kind of like believing in love and believing in fairies. And I think her Libra moon, it's the thing that gets her falling for guys so often. And her Capricorn Venus is also that traditional love, and that I want to marry someone, I want to have kids with them, I want to, do it properly. And unfortunately, she stumbled upon an Aries man, Kevin fucking Federline. I don't know his full chart. It's probably like demons in all his planets were like in a demon space. I don't know what's happened there, but yeah, she is that kind of person that falls in love head over heels. And I think it is something to learn from her.
And the beauty of all of this, you know, if you want to interpret what's going on at the moment with stars and celebrities, you can. But if you want to look at the, you know, astrology for an understanding of where you are at in your cycle of life, be it, you know, the end of a journey or the beginning of the journey, you totally can. So we listened to a podcast in the car whilst, you know, obviously listening to Shania Twain with my hair flowing in the wind whilst driving down the coastal drive in Western Australia. And bugs were like, you know, entering into my eyeballs and kangaroos were at, you know, risk of running onto the car. But
Shania was playing.
Shania was playing, and I felt like I was on a real road trip of self-exploration and healing. But anyway, listening to a podcast by cosmopolitan astrologer and podcaster Eliza Kelly called Stars Like Us. It's really awesome, really interesting. But she discussed the cycles of the week and how every day in the week is related to a planet and is related to an energy. And I think this is super cool. So I'm just going to indulge and run through them because I think it's another way that, like, let's say you're feeling a bit off or like you've got period pain or like you're just in a shitty mood and you're like, oh, I don't feel like going to work today. You can then be like, you could probably authentically tell your boss, well, it's actually Venus day and I need to be sensual. Or it is Mercury's day and I am cognitively very switched on. I need to work from home where my internet connection is better. Like, I think that this could take over instead of, you know, a stupid medical certificate that doesn't really tell anyone anything. Anyway, so I'm going to run through the days of the week as another really important cycle that we go through weekly. So Sunday is actually the start of the cycle of the week according to astrology. So Sunday is
Judaism.
And to Judaism, yes, yeah. With Jews, it's always like, we thought of it. No, we were there first, and it's okay. It doesn't all have to be about Jews.
No, I like that it's like correlates.
Yeah, it is, and it is a very Jewish way of being too. Maybe other cultures too. But Sunday is the day of the sun, so that is when it's time to start things and, you know, get things. Yeah, that kind of masculine energy connected to Leos. We love you, Leos. Monday is the moon day. So Moon day. That's it, moon day. So this is actually related to the sacred feminine energies of the moon. So similar to that full and new moon cycle of healing and sometimes going inwards and femininity and emotions and the feeling state. So that might be a really beautiful time to do work with the moon or work with your emotional side.
First of all, I'm never saying Monday again. From now on, it's Moon Day.
Yeah. And want to grab a coffee on Moon Day. It's
such a shame that in the Western society, we start work on Monday, because it sounds like it should be a day of introspect.
Yeah, and like totally, you know, perhaps that's connected to the gender wage gap and like the patriarchy saying that, you know, we're going to kick off the week on a Monday when it's actually Moon Day, in which we should be glorifying and celebrating whatever femininity means to everyone, obviously not just women.
True.
So that's Moon Day. Now Tuesday, which one was Tuesday again?
Mars Day.
Mars Day, that's right. So Mars being Aries energy. So if you are in a position of power or control, great day to start a war.
Aggression, sexuality.
Sex, you know, that's your sex time, that's your date night.
Yeah, book all of your orgies for Tuesday.
Yeah, go on the apps at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday because Mars is going to give you that little bit of a boost.
Yeah.
A little bit of a kick. I mean, I think Moon Day could also be a sensual day for kind of that crying lovemaking, maybe, which I think is a real thing for some people. Anyway, Wednesday, of course, the day that I was born. What do you think? What day is that? That's a fucking Mercury day. So this is your Gemini day.
Okay, I have a theory that Karen was never born. She actually someone picked up the phone and she came out of the
phone.
line, out of the phone, or maybe someone just like, logged onto the internet in 1988.
Yes.
And you, like, for the first year that the internet was invented, and you just like came out of the wires.
Well, there are a couple of question marks. I mean, when I ask my mother
Show me the receipts.
Exactly. When I ask my mum anything about the past, she says, I don't remember anything. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's pretty shady, but maybe I am so Gemini and so mercurial that I don't think I exist outside of thoughts. So anyway, show me those receipts. Mother, Cancerian mother. Obviously I care about my mum and I wish her all the best. But Wednesday, so this is the day of Mercury, so a day where your cognitive thinking, intellectual energies might be really sharp and really, we talk about Wednesday as hump day, but, astrologically speaking, it might be when you're ready to kind of get some shit done, write that book, write that poetry, send that email, create that blog. So cognitively you should be pretty switched on. Thursday is a great day as well. So that is Jupiter's day. So Jupiter, Sagittarius's ruling planet. Thursday is fun, optimism, travel, movement, success. So if you need to do anything around something being successful, maybe buy a lottery ticket on that day. I know a lot of Librans out there are a big fan of buying lottery tickets. So maybe that's a good day to do it. You might have a bit more good fortune.
That was also Eliza's suggestion. And
yes.
She's a legit astrologer. So.
She is. I'm sorry. I stole it.
Well, I think we should all go and check her podcast out as well, because she is, Karen and I sit here and we talk about astrology and we give examples, but Eliza Kelly that's her show.
She knows her shit. She knows what a conjunct means, adjunct, sextile, square, all of it. And she's fucking good.
And she's funny and smart.
Funny and smart.
And also, she said that, Thursday is a lucky day, so go for it.
Yeah, go for it on Thursday.
What about Friday?
Friday is Venus's day. So Venus is the ruler of two signs, Taurus and Libra, but known for Venus's sensuality. So again, a really good day for sensual pleasures, getting that haircut, beauty, appreciating beauty. Maybe you want to go to an art gallery if that's your thing. Going on a Friday night date could be a bit fortuitous on that day. And then Saturday, well, it's sounds exactly like what it is, Saturn's day. So Saturn being the planet of structure and limitations and seriousness, and of course Capricorn's ruling planet. So, a good day maybe to wrap things up before you head back into Sunday.
And it's also like Saturn is about the lessons and the learning. And it seems very fitting that at the end of the week, you'll kind of like sit and reassess and learn, and okay, what am I taking with me to the next week from this week that I've just had? I don't know, I feel like it's getting your shit in order, which is weird because a Saturday is like when everyone's hitting the clubs and stuff. So I'm wondering, if we're all a bit out of sorts. I'm curious about the other planets, those big planets like Pluto and Neptune, and how they're represented in that cycle. But anyway, just another way, as I said, for people to understand where they are at cyclically in their life. So you can follow the moon cycle, you can follow the yearly cycle of the Western calendar, or potentially the zodiac calendar or the lunar calendar. You can also follow, of course, the menstrual cycle. So I have a very well-read book that sits in my house called Red Moon. And it is a bright red book that I got from a quirky and unsettling crystal shop in Glen Iris or Malvern. And it's a bit of a scary shop, particularly because it feels like you're in a hoarder's house. Everything's everywhere and there's crystals everywhere, and everyone just looks like they're a little bit on edge and seeking answers to their psychic pain. But I was there, of course, and I found this book, Red Moon, and it's got a picture of a goddess or a witch on it holding a scepter or a sword or something like that, and it's all about mapping the
menstrual cycle and how to channel creative energies according to that. What I love the most about this book is its really insane, vivid descriptions of every single cycle. So the beginning of the cycle is called the maiden phase or the virgin phase, which is a bit weird, but it's like that newness, that freshness, that Aries season, the beginning. And then you step into the mother phase. So, I mean, the only way I can think about that is as Jennifer Lopez or Oprah Winfrey, you know, the mothers of celebrity, you know, as we know it. And they just make you feel like they're just, like if you grazed your knee and you fell off your scooter, like they'd be really good and they'd like really sensitive and caring, and they give you like a hug and a kiss, and you'd kind of be still holding back tears, but trying to be really brave.
Strong for J-Lo. I want J-Lo to see me crying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to see me cry. So the mother phase, and then you step into the enchantress phase, which is, you know, it's known maybe in other realms as when you're PMSing, when you are angry and irritable and feel like, you know, blowtorching everyone around you. But actually that's when you're at your most creative and good shit can happen then. And then apparently when you're at the end of the cycle, it is known in this book as the hag phase.
The hag.
So, I mean, it's not actually a bad phase. It's that ending part of the phase. So when you feel connected to psychic, spiritual energies and you're going inwards. So I guess what we're kind of maybe saying in a bit of a long-winded way is that there are so many different cycles you can think about, but what is true to all of them is that the beginning is just as important as the end. And the wisdom you learn at the end is going to inform how you operate in the beginning of a cycle. And similarly, you know, the beginning of a cycle is going to inform how you operate at the end of any cycle. And I think
so true.
It's a really cool way to think about things.
Because we have such a tendency to value different stages better than others. And I feel like we have such a tendency to avoid the hag phase, to think that ending, you know, phases are not good. We celebrate youth in our society, in Western society, you know, the children and the youth, but then the second you grow old is like ship them to a old age home, or don't cast them to films, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and obviously for women in pop culture, that's at about age, 37?
27?
And for Matthew McConaughey and Bradley Cooper, I mean, they will be operating as the main love interest until they're about 70 or 80 years old.
Exactly.
So, again, the cycles are different according to your gender identity, according to your privilege. So that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh, that's a long, life-going discussion.
Even this, you know, discussion around the hag phase. I mean, I don't know if there is a male equivalent to the hag phase, but this is because, you know, cycles can be seen as a feminine thing as well. But anyway, as you were saying.
So I just think that it took me a long time to learn, still can't really do it, but accept and love those hag phase moments, those Pisces seasons, those retrogrades. And it also takes me back to the beginning of this episode when you explained about the Buddhist terms about love and wisdom, and how you have to almost like love your wound, like love those deep shit moments, because they just as important. Like, I don't know if I was able to come to the Pink Lake had I not gone through the past 5 years, or, you know, the past 30 years of my life.
Yeah, it's true. And love them both, and they're both equally as important. So I hope that anyone out there listening, if you are feeling like you're at a closure or you're at a beginning, I hope that you are enjoying the beauty of that at whatever stage you're at. And a little side note is that me and Itai today will be visiting a place in Western Australia which is known as the Principality of Hutt River, which is basically a Western Australian farmer or a man 70 or so years ago decided to secede from Australia and declare his 70,000 acre property its own country. So it is, I think it's about a half an hour drive from here. He thinks it's his own country. You need to get a stamp in your passport to go in and out, apparently. A quick Wikipedia search showed that he does owe the Australian government $2.7 million in unpaid taxes.
Fucking hell.
But apparently it's a lovely tourist attraction in town, so it's his own country. He's the king. No, he died, and now his son is now the king. So there is a new king of the Principality of Hutt River. And I also read on Wikipedia that a German person got in big, deep shit for trying to enter a country with a Principal of Hutt River diplomatic passport. So they issue their own passports and currency.
Wait.
And they've really...
Something doesn't add up. A white man decided to declare that his farm is its own country.
Yeah.
That's so uncharacteristic of a white man to do.
I know. It's completely out of the realms of possibility, but this just
I'm
shows
actually
you.
surprised that it's not the case for every farm, that like every man is going to declare its own country. And well, if you think about it, that's the original story of modern Australia, is a white man arrived here and decided that this is their country.
Absolutely. And then look at us. We have come all the way from awesome Melbourne, and we are going to go and visit his countries. What does that say about us? But anyway, we'll definitely report back. But hopefully you've taken something from this podcast.
Yeah.
A big shout out, of course, to Eliza Kelly's podcast that I've been really enjoying. Check it out.
It might be worth, just before we go, quickly to acknowledge that we have recorded this episode 3 times because Mercury is retrograding still, even though I'm in love. Still, the universe is not up to my pace. And I hope this is the best version. Those 2 other versions will not see the light of day.
Yes, they are our bootleg B-side albums that will be released on the internet
one day.
In 10 years' time.
But we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of Astrology Roast.